Radio 1450. The number is 529-1450.
Yeah. Give it to me now.
Welcome back to Fantasy Football 101 on Sports Radio 1450 and on the web at sportsradio1450.com. 529-1450 is the phone number, 529-1450, getting you all set for your fantasy football drafts. I know there's a lot tomorrow and a lot next Sunday, too. And are there any after that? I mean, it's about go time, isn't it?
Oh, no, I think next weekend is just about the end of the line. I don't think you can do any more after that. As a matter of fact, what do you guys think about that, about how early you should have drafts and how late? Because the league that I'm in, everybody pushes for as late of a draft as possible is to make sure we don't draft anybody that goes down in the preseason. But you guys drafted like 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
It's a tough call because you're so anxious and you want to get going on a draft so bad. But then you have to also take into consideration if you have a player go down, okay, well, you knew ahead of time you draft a month ahead of the season, you take that chance. So, it's a hit and miss. Most hardcore leagues wait until the last Sunday before the season starts.
We always do the third week of preseason games that Sunday. That's what we've always done because the fourth week, typically all the starters sit out in preseason. So we always done the third week that Sunday, even though there's some Monday night games, so there's still a chance to lose some guys. But we always just try to put it off to just kind of play it safe because, like, look at Ben Roethlisberger. Now, the injury I just read today is supposed to be not that serious, but it would still kind of alter where he goes in a draft, I would think.
Yeah, you've got to look at that. I mean, he's going in to have it re-examined, and anytime you have Achilles with any football player, it's a little bit scary, and it does. It will adjust what you do on your draft.
Well, I kind of like both things because I had one early.
Yeah.
And so that kind of, I saw how that played out. Now I can plan a little bit more for the second one. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm like Mark. I would just rather. I like to do. I could have done one in June. I just like having a fantasy football draft. To be honest with you guys, and it doesn't matter. Like we talked about this Thursday too. It doesn't matter if someone Big Ben goes down the other day, but he could go down in week 3 anyway, and he it's whatever. It's the NFL. Injuries are going to happen.
Your situation last year with Carson Palmer killed your league. That's how it works.
Right. I drafted him in round 3, I think, in both of my leagues, and he was out by week 2 and did me nothing all year. So, I mean, it's the NFL. Injuries happen. You got, Mark Bolger broke his pinky. He's out for 4 weeks. I don't know how many people are drafting him, but that definitely changes. That definitely changes the way you do things, though, because even if you were looking at a Donnie Avery maybe in the middle of your draft, maybe you're not now because he doesn't have anyone to throw it to him.
And it also kind of depends on what kind of league you're in, because if you're in a keeper league, especially like an unlimited keeper league, then injuries don't really matter so much because you're looking big picture and you're looking ahead, and then a guy like Steve Smith and his shoulder injury it doesn't scare you as bad because next year he's not going to have a shoulder injury and later in the season he's not. So. But if it's a cash everybody in at the end of the year league, then I think you really need to take a look at what guys are going to be out there all year.
I think that's a good point too. Actually, that I didn't really think of is that excuse me, a keeper league not so bad if you draft early because whatever you're keeping these dudes. I mean that's the thing. But if you're drafting way late and everyone's in the draft, that does definitely make a difference, and it definitely changes your draft strategy. And Eric has 10 rules to live by for fantasy football. We're going to get that up on the webpage for you at sportsradio1450.com, and it's also on the web at ericpedigo.com. And we ran through those on Thursday. But those are some excellent rules. And I think one of the best ones, though, besides don't draft Lee Evans, is the key in your draft tomorrow or next Sunday or whenever it is. And we touched on this earlier with our first caller at 529-1450, though. Don't draft rookies, tight ends, kickers, or defenses too early. And in the same token, don't always draft with your heart.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's hard for me to pick between the two. I would say don't draft with your heart is probably the most important because so many guys do that. I remember a couple of years ago, a guy named Sean in one of our leagues, just because he's such a diehard Broncos fan, just traded away Plaxico Burress, who was having a terrific year, for Javon Walker, who just went down with a knee injury. They just traded him straight up just because he wanted to have the number one receiver from his favorite team. And, every year he misses the playoffs. So
Jay Cutler over here across the table, that's your starting quarterback, huh, Mark?
Well, yeah,
Your backup right now is Big Ben, so I'm just trying to figure out what you're doing.
The quarterbacking situation right now is just a little bit scary. I guess I have a little more faith, and Cutler still could come through and have a decent year. But boy, I don't want to hear any more about Ben and this Achilles thing. This is scary because there's no one left on the free agent thing to pick up. So, yeah, I'm already under the gun, and we haven't played game one yet.
So you have Cutler and Roethlisberger are your quarterbers?
You got it, baby.
Mark.
In the last 5 years, though, he's had Peyton Manning and Reggie Wayne.
Well, see, that's what happened, Eric. I gave up Wayne and gave up Manning, and I just lost my mind. I didn't know what to do. I've had him for so long, and I'm getting on in years. Social Security's around the corner.
Oh, man.
And what do I do at quarterback? I don't have Manning. Panic just set in.
You'll be all right with Jay Cutler, I think.
I
think he's probably at the bottom of the starters list, but he's still, I think, probably worth a starting spot in fantasy football, if not like a top backup. But I think he'll be all right. He's not going to do what he did last year in Denver, but he'll still be a serviceable quarterback, and you should be okay.
I decided when I kept Maurice Jones-Drew and Chris Johnson, I knew then I was going to have to look for a little bit less than what I was used to at quarterback, and that's okay.
You made the right move there.
Yeah, that's huge. You got Jones-Drew and Chris. Those are two of the top stud running backs in the league, and you got them on your roster. And, yeah, Jay Cutler's going to be okay. He's going to be okay. I think they still need another weapon for him to go to. I think Olsen's going to have a big year, much bigger than he did last year as a rookie. And I just think, though, they really need another wide receiver. We were talking about Thursday, too. I think Marvin Harrison would be a good fit. I don't care how old he is. He is a wide receiver and has been for a long time. That's like John Smoltz going to the Cardinals. It's going to work.
Yeah.
And I think Harrison would work in Chicago.
And you see a lot of people jumping on the Earl Bennett bandwagon, wide receiver for the Bears, because he played in college with Jay Cutler. But, if you really take a good look at that, he only played one season with Cutler at Vanderbilt. And, and Cutler's been with Denver for 3 years now. So it's not like, him and Bennett have this super amazing chemistry that they've had for all these years. They played one season together in college, and that was 4 years ago. So a lot of people are jumping on the Earl Bennett bandwagon, but don't read too much into the fact that they played at the same college, because they were barely even there at the same time.
If Marshall keeps aggravating the Denver people, there still may be a trade.
That'd be big if he went to Chicago.
Yeah, Brandon Marshall to Chicago.
All of a sudden, now Cutler looks like a good pick. But yeah,
that'd be huge, but then you can count Denver out of winning anything.
Yeah. and Cutler would have another wide receiver to bang in the media.
Those Denver fans got to be just absolutely beside themselves. They're used to having such a good team year in and year out, and this year is just going to blow. It's really going to be bad.
How sad is that? Brandon Marshall is arguably a top 5 talent as far as wide receivers go, and I have him right now 16 on my wide receiver board just because of the situation and just his attitude.
Well, and that's one of the things that we talked about almost week in and week out last year. The team, you got to look at the team too before you draft a guy. It's not based on name, because Brandon Marshall, awesome last year.
Oh, yeah.
This year, with Kyle Orton throwing to him or not throwing to him, and just his whole head situation where he doesn't even want to be there, maybe, like you said, he's just dropping. And same, like I was actually leading to into the break before we took a commercial last time. We're about ready to take another break, but Tony Romo just falling because there is no T.O.
Right.
They don't know what they're doing at running back right now. Yeah, Barber's good in the goal line, and Felix Jones could be a stud, but he didn't get a whole lot of touches last year, and he had the choice kid, too, that's going to want some touches, too. Some of those guys are just going to keep dropping. You're going to have to keep an eye on that, especially with your drafts coming up tomorrow and next Sunday. The guys that are up there last year aren't there this year, and we're going to run through the top 5 running backs, the top 5 quarterbacks, and the top 5 wide receivers coming up here as we take a break on Sports Radio 1450. 529-1450 is the phone number. You're listening to Fantasy Football 101 on Sports Radio 1450.
Bob Ridings.